Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hi to my students. Welcome to another lecture of DUM2113 Technical Mathematics for the chapter of polar coordinates. In this chapter, you will learn several things which includes the fundamental of polar coordinates and what's the difference between it with the normal Cartesian coordinates or rectangular. Next, we will learn the curve and the shapes that can be created by the polar coordinates. And lastly, you will learn how to measure the area associated with the given polar coordinates. So we will start first on how to plot the polar coordinates. Normally, in the Cartesian coordinates, suppose there is a point here. We name it as point A. In the form of Cartesian coordinates, for example, we can name it by the value of x and the value of y here. So for example, we put x equals to 3 and y equals to 4. Therefore, the coordinates of A is 3, 4. However, there are several things that cannot be represented by the Cartesian coordinate. So the polar coordinate will help us to find the distance between the point A with the origin. For example, we name the magnitude of this line as r, and also it can measure the angles from the horizontal axis x to the line r. Two things that can be represented by the polar coordinates. The first one is the distance or r and also the angle. Before I proceed, let me recall some of the fundamentals needed so that you can understand this chapter much more easier. In the topics of trigonometry, we name this as the first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant, and the fourth quadrant. And the movement on how to read the angle is in the form of anti-clockwise. So for example, if you have an angle here, let's name the angle 45 degrees. We read this as 45 degrees in the movement if we move from the horizontal point axis anti-clockwise. So it will be in this arrow. And if we move it into a clockwise, for example, still 45 degrees, this will be negative 45. So the degree represented, if the polar coordinate here is r degree, then it moves to anti-clockwise. Vice versa, if it is a negative, then it moves clockwise. Okay. One more thing that needs to be mastered is the readings in degrees and also the radians. As the radian is much more easier to be represented for circles and the curves. Therefore, you must also know how to transform the degree into a radian and also from a radian to a degree. For example, in this instance, the degree given is 45 degrees and we want to convert it into a radian. So the formula is very simple. So you just 45 times pi over 180. So in form of radians, it will be pi over 4. So this angle is 45 degrees, or in the form of radian is pi over 4 radian. Another example, if we give a radian first. For example, the degree is pi radian. So how to plot it? If you have a hard time to to transform the pi to the degree radian, this is degree, so you just convert it back by multiplying it with 180 over pi. So the pi in radians is equal to 180 degrees. If we want to plot it, again start from the horizontal axis x, anti-clockwise because this is still positive, so the degree will be here, the angle will be here, so the point is here. Okay, let's do some examples. Let's start with a question here. 2, 3 pi, and as we recall, the 2 here represents the distance, which is 2, and also the angle here, which is 3 pi. So to plot it, draw x-axis and y-axis, and the distance of the r will be 2. However, where is 3 pi? Several tips if you want to know is that there are special angles in the radian. For example, as 360 degrees is equal to 2 pi, represents a circle, therefore if we measure here from here 90 degrees, it will be pi over 2. If we continue until 180 degrees, will be pi. Continue more to 170, will be 3 pi over 2. 3 pi over 2, and if we complete a whole circle, 360 degrees, will be 2 pi. So we have a 3 pi here. So 3 pi, you proceed further. But again, if you cannot master the readings in radian, that's fine. In radian, you can just simply just convert it. So let's try to convert it. Okay, 3 pi in radian, we want to convert it into a degree. So you just take 3 pi, you multiply it with 180 over pi. So you will get 540 degrees. Again, it will move more than one circle. So you might minus it with 360 degrees. So it will be 180 degrees. So it will be, the point will be here. I make it into another color. The point will be here. And also don't forget to draw the line which represents the r, which is r equals to 2. The length is r equals to 2, and the degrees. That's not a very good representation. This will be 3 pi. Okay. Just now, in the previous explanation, I say if we say we take in a negative way, for example, 2 and also negative 3 pi in radian. If we at this point read the negative sign at the angle, the difference is that if we move into a clockwise. Okay, please remember that. However, one thing that I do not consider yet is the possibility if the magnitude r is negative. So let's look into that. If you have the case when the r is negative, -2, and again we use the same angle, 3 pi in radian. So where will be b? Okay, there is a connection here represented by this one, which is if r is positive, if the negative of r will be the opposite side of it. So in this case, if you refer to the slide on the left, the b will be -2 and 3 pi. 3 pi, you plus pi will become 4 pi. So the angle will be here up until 4 pi, almost one circle. And the lines represented by -2 and 3 pi will be the opposite of A. So this will be your point B here. Let's do the next example, B. B given by 2 and also -2 pi over 3. Again, we start with drawing the axis, and the r is 2, okay, and what will be, okay, this time we have a negative degree in radian there, and it will be, you might change it or you might not change it. For me, I like to change it, so I will be so -2 pi over 3 is equal clockwise 120 degrees. So draw the angle here. This will be -2 pi over 3 or -120 degrees, because this is a negative, so will be clockwise. So we draw a straight line here, and this will be to the plot, and the r will be 2. So this will be your point for B. Please remember to draw the straight line, the point, the distance, and also don't forget the degree. Please label the degree. Let's proceed with the last example of the plotting. You are given -3 and 3 pi over 4. Okay, this one you can, if to make sure that you will not confuse, sometimes you put into a positive form first, and then you try to reverse it into a negative one. For example, before proceed to the -3, I label it as 3 pi over 4. You will start with drawing the axis again, and 3 pi over 4 is equivalent to 135 degree. Okay, this is a positive, so we move anti-clockwise. 135 degree will be somewhere around here. Okay, we draw a straight line. This is 3 pi over 4. However, this is the point where it represents by positive 3, r equals to 3. So the actual point of the given this question is negative 3, so it will be the other side. Here. Okay, so this will be r equals to negative 3. How about the degree? The actual degree here has been transformed. Okay, so if given r, okay, I recap back. If r is given theta, the point for negative r will be theta plus pi. Okay, right now we have 3 pi over 4, so we'll be take this angle. Okay, we take 3 pi over 4 plus pi. It will be 7 pi over 4. Now you already have the actual polar coordinate of point here. Draw again, and the degree there. We will continue another lecture on the connection between the, okay, right now you should be able to plot. Remember some of the few elements. The first thing is that you must represent the polar coordinates in the form of r and the degree. So just to recap, in polar coordinates, if you want to plot it, you must represent a straight line from point A to the origin, represented by the distance of r and also the degree. And please remember several things as well. For example, if we want to convert it into negative r, then the actual degree is pi. You must add with pi, theta plus pi. Make sure your degree must be in a radian form. Next, if we change the direction, we'll make the degree negative, then it means it is clockwise. This one will be a normal anti-clockwise. That's all for the brief lecture on plotting the polar coordinates. Hope to see you on the next lecture.